Alright guys, I know it's been a while. I was prepping for a knife show. I went to the knife show. I did okay at the knife show. So I've got another one coming up in a month. I want to make something different. I want to make something that catches people's eye. I want to make something that, when they leave, they're talking about it. So I got some 1095 steel. I already got it ground cleaned up. And I got some 15 and 20 steel ground and cleaned up. So I'm going to put a billet together a little different than I do a lot of times. Instead of just one layer and another layer and one layer and another layer, I'm going to mix up the 15 and 20. Every other layer I'm going to put 2 layers of 15 and 20. So even though I've got like 18 pieces of steel here, I'm only going to make 15 layers on my initial billet, because every other layer of 15 and 20 will be 2 layers of it, which will only count as one layer. But let's put together a billet. Let's make something different. All right, it's a brand new day. I am ready to make some Damascus. So I got my billet out here. It's been soaking in the kerosene overnight. 15 layers. I've got some doubled up 15 and 20, but 15 layers. Let's get it forge welded, and I think I'll probably draw it out and either make 60 to 75 layers. Let's see what we come up with. Oh yeah, look at her go. That's what I want to see. I want to see the dragon's breath. That's the kerosene burning off. Now I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna turn up my forge just a little bit. All right, we got the billet in the fire, warming up. So this billet, I've got about 3 weeks before a knife show, and I want to make something different. I want to make something that catches people's eye. So I'm thinking maybe, I don't know, a fighter or a small hunter or something like that. And I know, a small knife, somebody will have to see it. But when they see it, I want them to really look at it. So I think I'm going to take this billet and do an opposing twist, or this is my plan. 2 bars twisted in opposite directions, forge welded together. We'll see what happens with it, but this is my plan right now, I think. So, but first I got to get Damascus made. So I'm thinking the 60 to 75 layer range, not super high layer, not super low layer, kind of that mid-ground layer count. It should stand out. We started with 15 layers. That means if I forge weld it and draw it out into 4 pieces, enough to cut 4 pieces out of, it would be 60 layers. If I can draw it out long enough to get 5 pieces out of, it'd be 75 layers. So let's get there first. All right, it's been about 10 minutes. You can see my billet is really coming up to heat good. I just turned it over. Earlier when I was talking about the dragon's breath. Okay, can you still see the flames coming out of my forge? Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm running my forge just a little bit rich. That way it burns up all the oxygen that's in there, and there's a little bit of gas that's actually igniting as it comes out of the forge. That tells me there's no oxygen in that forge. And that's why it's not building up, warm. That's why it's not building up any forge scale on it at all. So as long as that stays oxygen free, no forge scale, my welds will be good. We're gonna probably let it go for another couple minutes, make sure it's that hot all the way through the billet. All right, so time for the most important part of the whole thing, the initial forge weld. So it's almost there. Let's do it. Forge weld number 1 looks good to me. All right, there was my 3 forge welds. I do 3. So there's my 3 forge welds. Now I'm ready to start drawing it out. I'd like to hit 15 inches. Let's get started. All right, I got my 15 inches. 15 inches is actually right here, and I got 18 inches. Actually 19 if you want to count the little bad spots on the ends. But all right, we're gonna let that cool off and cut it up. All right, back on the Damascus. So forged out a 15 layer billet and drew it out. So there it is. Now we're ready to grind it off, clean it up, cut it back up into pieces and restack it. So let's get started. All right, got the billet all ground up. I'm gonna get it divided up, marked out, and we're gonna cut it up. All right, I got it cut up, so I'm just gonna stack it up. Now, that's all well and good, but I wanted to make something that really stood out. Let's add some steel to this. All right, let's get you caught up where my brain is at. So I wanted something to stand out. I was talking about doing 2 opposing twist bars forge welded together, kind of give a resemblance maybe to feather if you did it right, but you know, something different. But where those 2 bars meet, I doubled up them layers of 15 and 20 in the original billet. So there was 3 doubled up layers. Where those meet, it'll make a little design right there, almost like maybe a little star or something. So in doing that, that would have been 3 big stars and 3 little stars for every 15 layers. Well, I ended up cutting my billet up into 6 pieces. So, you know, I wanted to do 60 to 75 layers. I got a little carried away. We're doing 90. Well, now I'm adding in these 5 layers of 1095. So now I'm going to have 5 black stars in between them. So let's just see what happens. Let's put a billet together. So I know you guys can see that these are all taller than my other billet, so I'll forge weld, or I will weld it up, and then I will cut them off and grind them down level. All right, so as I said earlier, those pieces were wider, so once I welded the billet up, I just took an angle grinder and a cutoff wheel and cut them off, and then just cleaned it up a little bit with a grinding wheel. So I got the forge lit. We're gonna stick it in the forge. We're gonna continue on making Damascus. So where I'm at right now, it'll be 95 layers. So what I want to do right now is draw this out into a bar. I talked about re-squaring the billet, but I think adding some steel back in and the little things I've done, I think that's going to work out good for me. But we're going to get the billet in the fire and let it get hot, make some Damascus. All right, guys, billet's hot. Time for the first forge weld. All right, that was my third forge weld. We're going to go ahead and start drawing it out into a square bar. All right, so I'm wanting my bar thick enough to forge weld it together when I'm done, but I want it thin enough to get a good twist. So I took a railroad spike, I cut it in half, I made me some little shims that I'm going to put in my press. This is 5/8 of an inch square, so we'll get down to that and see about maybe doing some cutting and twisting. All right, there's the bar. 5/8 of an inch square. Looks like it's about 17 or so inches long. I think that'll work. 17 or 18 inches long, that's plenty long enough for me to get a few knives out of. I don't really know what I'm gonna make yet. But 5/8 of an inch square, it will twist up really nice, but yet it'll still be wide enough for me to forge weld it back together once I've twisted it. So we'll let it cool off and see what we're going to do with it. All right, guys, we're back on the Damascus. The last time I was on it, it was a 5/8 by 5/8 inch bar, 17, 18 inches long. So I cut that. I cut me 2 5-inch pieces of it. We're going to twist these in opposite directions and then forge weld them back together. Okay, so I'm going to count my twists. I'm going to do exactly the same on each side, try to get everything. When I put it together, maybe it'll match up. We'll see how it goes. But I come across the tool the other day, just by chance, pure luck. I went ahead and bought it, reasonable, and we're going to try it out. I'll show it to you. Okay, so this thing's made to be mounted on a bench. It's got bolt mount here and all the way on this end bolt mount here. It's pretty long. I haven't even measured it. So this is a twisting device. They use it a lot for wrought iron and stuff. So I painted one of my handles bright red stripe. That way I can count my turns when I'm twisting, okay? So let me get you set up here and we'll actually take a look at it. Okay, so the way this works is it came with 2 bolts. I put 2 others in it just to make this whole square in here, and you adjust it down where your steel will fit in there, right? So on this end, this piece moves. This is actually designed to set up and tighten up right here, but that's too much. So I'm going to try to grab it with some vice grips when I pull it out of the forge and lock it in the hole and just set it right in there, and when I twist it'll hold it. Okay, and everything's nice and level. So we're going to try out this twister. I'm ready to do it. Alright, so I took a grinder and I just hit a notch in the top of each one of them. I did a test edge so I could see my layers. I just did a little notch in it. This is going to be the handle portion of the blade anyway. That way when I put them in my jig over there, I'll always put this up. Alright, the steel's in the forge, getting hot. We're gonna do the twist. So whenever I put it in this twisting jig, I'm actually gonna put it in and I'm gonna twist it counterclockwise first, left. And the reason why is because I'm right-handed and I want to make sure that I don't twist both of them right. Okay, so I want opposite directions. So also, when I put them in and out of the forge, the one twisted to the left will always be on the left in the forge. It is super easy to stick that in the jig and give a little twist the wrong way and mess everything up. So I'm trying to pay attention and keep everything in a way that I can remember it. I'll also count my twists. Okay, I could be all cool and edit that out and everything, but I just wanted for you to see how easy it is to get a little bit lost in your brain and make a mistake. So what happened was I put my right-handed twisted billet into my jig. No joke, I just got a heat advisory on my phone. We're under 110 heat index here. And it's freaking hot. It's probably 140 degrees in there where I'm doing the twisting, okay? At least. So I looked at it when I put it in there and I thought, whoa, I grabbed the wrong billet. This is the left-hand twist. And I twisted it the wrong way. When I saw it, I tried to save it. It did not save. It actually almost twisted in two in one place because I pushed it even farther because I knew there was a problem. And it delaminated in one place. But I have the rest of that 5/8 inch bar. So I just cut another 5-inch piece. I marked it just like I did the first one with the grinder for the notch. So I have my layout the same. And I put it in the forge. So now I believe if I go over there and look, I think I'm 6 twists in. So I need to twist this 6 times to the right to catch up to the other bar so I can put it back in there and work them together and try not to make a mistake. So there you saw it. Everyone makes mistakes. I make a lot of them. And this is how I learn. I've made this mistake before. That's why I was marking down my number of twists. I was really trying to keep count of it. But it's just so hot, my brain's okay. But I'm going to go ahead and, I guess, video catching this bar up, 6 twists to the right. I'll double check my paper and make sure that's correct. But, and then we will come back to where we were. Okay, here's my bars. So I believe that was 20 twists. So you can see up here, what I'm going to do is right here, I'm going to cut both of these bars off, and then I will clean everything up and forge weld this back together, and we'll draw it out and make a knife. Good morning, guys. It's going to be bad. So I come out this morning early and I got my bar, my twisted billet ground and cleaned up. I got it forged, or got it welded together, and I'm ready to forge weld it. The forge is lit. It's 10 minutes till 8. It's 84 degrees and it feels like 100. I got an excessive heat warning today here with heat indices above 110. So we're gonna be fast and get out of this shop. It's unbelievable. It feels like it's 100 degrees in here right now, and 10 minutes till 8. Okay, so I got the billet in the kerosene. Let's grab it and stick it in the forge. All right, got it cleaned off, got it welded back together, been in the kerosene for a few, we're ready to go in the forge. Let's get started. All right, on days like today, I'm gonna set small goals. So my goal today is to get that forge welded together and drawn out a little. What I'd like to do is get it forge welded together, get it drawn out into a blade. If I could do that, I would be ecstatic. But better to take small steps than to die in this heat, okay? So I like to spend my evenings with my wife, otherwise I would be out here at midnight doing this. It's just so unbelievably hot down here. Whole new perspective. You know I love this, or there's no way I would do it. I have done roofing on houses. This is hotter. So let's see what we can get done today. Well guys, it's time for the initial forge weld. So I'm just going to be really gentle. This is a dangerous forge weld because it's welding together like this, and you're going to be looking at the side of the blade, so I won't be squishing the layers together when I'm drawing the knife out, and it'll have a tendency to split open. So I'm just going to go slow and try not to get over anxious because of this heat, and we'll see what happens. All right, we're going to try to forge a knife out of it and see how it goes. Okay, so right on the tip of my knife, I had a weld, and I went ahead and cut that tip off. I'm going to reshape the tip and kind of start shaping the blade a little bit. Oh, it's hot. All right, I got my handle cut off. We're going to start doing a hidden tang on this. All right, so here's the blade I come up with. I'm gonna put it in the forge and let it cool down nice and slow with the forge off. Well, we got the blade forged out. I didn't see any issues in it. It's hot, so we're gonna let that cool off in the forge, slow, to anneal it, soften the steel, so it'll grind and file and everything much easier. I'm really wanting to do a drop point blade, but that blade lends itself to a pretty nice looking dagger. We'll just see how I feel tomorrow when I get started on it. But I'm going to end this video right here so it's not an hour long, and we'll pick up with part 2. So stay tuned. You never know what you're capable of until you try. So at least try.